Hi everyone, my name is Marina, and in 2019 I did my research with the Division of Geriatric Medicine at the University of Alberta. And the title of our project is Exploring Older Adults' Priorities of Urinary Incontinence, a community participatory-based research approach. So the prevalence of UI here in Canada is about 24%, which is already quite high, and it does increase with age. And so a lot of older adults experience the stigma and the isolation that accompanies this condition. As well, most UI research is driven by researchers and it lacks the patient perspective, which is why our study employed a community-based participatory research framework. So we offered equitable involvement to older adults with urinary incontinence within our community by forming a UI advisory group that would act as co-researchers on our team. And you can see 4 of them pictured here. The objective of our study was to gain the perspective of older adults in formulating a research agenda that is tailored to address their questions and to improve their experience with urinary incontinence. And here are some of the characteristics of our advisory team. Initially, we had set the inclusion criteria to be age 65 plus. However, after discussing this with the advisory team, we felt that it is best to minimize the criteria to age 50 plus in order not to exclude any voices. So as long as people identified as older adults, they could participate. And here's an outline of our methodology. First, we established the UI advisory team. Next, we conducted a focus group to learn about their experience with UI and its management. Next, we conducted the nominal group technique, which is basically just a more structured focus group. So you can see it has 5 steps. And following the last step, we developed a list of 20 research, educational, and outreach priorities for older adults with UI. And we incorporated these into a national survey for the Delphi consensus method. The Delphi consensus is just a method of reaching a group decision with a panel of experts. So in this case, the decision was which priorities to include on a UI research agenda. And the panel of experts were Canadian older adults with UI. So we conducted 2 rounds of this Delphi survey, and in each round, participants ranked the priorities, and the highest ranking priorities made it into the second round and subsequently onto the agenda. And here are the characteristics of our Delphi participants. So as you can see, there were some younger, older adults who did want their opinion to be heard in this study. Following the final round of Delphi, we produced a list of 11 research, educational, and outreach priorities. And what was really interesting was that the majority of these priorities reflected a gap between available research and public understanding of the condition. So it wasn't that there's not enough UI research out there and we need to do more, it's that more translational activities are needed. And one of the priorities explicitly stated this. So older adults want more educational resources to be developed in order to help them understand their condition and the management options that are available to them. So one limitation of taking the community-based participatory research framework is that UI is a very stigmatized issue. And so a lot of people just don't feel comfortable joining something like the advisory team. But we did address this by releasing a confidential national survey. So what are the next steps? Well, this summer we conducted a rapid literature review to develop practice guidelines that were incorporated into patient-centered educational material, which is now being reviewed by the advisory team prior to its public distribution. To finish off, I would like to give a huge thank you to my research team, my UI advisory group, my project coordinator, Saima, as well as my principal investigator, Dr. Adrian Wagg. It was such a pleasure working with each and every one of them throughout the course of this study. Do you have any questions? I would love to hear from you via the forum or via my email here. Thank you so much.